My name is Alina. And if you've ever felt unwanted in your own home, if your own blood treated you like a burden, then maybe my story will feel a little too familiar.
As I tell you everything, the ugly, the painful, and the truthful, I want you to think about one question. What would you do
if the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones who hurt you most? And if anything in my story connects to you, please comment and tell me your truth too. You are not alone. I grew up believing a lie, that family means love, support, safety, a shelter from the storm. But in my house, family meant sacrifice. My sacrifice, my happiness, my dreams, all for a love that was never returned back to me. My parents raised my younger brother, Zion, like a king, while I was treated like a live-in maid who should be grateful for the roof over her head.
They said, girls don't need an education. But they sent him to the best private school in the city, buying him new uniforms every term while I stitched up the holes in mine. They said, girls should stay home, but he could travel anywhere he wanted without even asking, staying out late with friends while I was questioned for standing at the window too long.
Have you ever seen a parent love one child more than the other? Have you ever watched the best piece of chicken go to your sibling's plate while you were told to fill up on rice? If yes, tell me in the comments how that felt. Because for me, it felt like dying slowly. It wasn't just about the food or the clothes, it was the message underneath, he is the future. You are temporary. I remember one specific afternoon. I was 16. I had a fever of 102 degrees. I was shivering, curled up on the sofa, barely able to keep my eyes open. My mother walked in, took one look at me, and sighed. Not a sigh of worry, but of annoyance. Get up, Alina, she said. Zion's friends are coming over for video games. Make snacks. Make tea.
And don't look so miserable. You'll ruin the mood. I dragged myself to the kitchen, tears mixing with the sweat on my face, frying samosas while my head pounded.
I could hear them laughing in the living room. My parents were laughing with them. I realized then that my pain was an inconvenience to them, while my brother's pleasure was a priority. Every birthday of mine was too expensive. Why do you need a cake? You're getting old, not winning a prize, my father would joke. But Zion's birthday? They invited the whole neighborhood. They hired catering. They bought him watches, gadgets, bikes.
Every time I asked for something small, a book, a dress, maybe a little attention, they acted like I was begging for the moon.
And whenever guests came, my mother smiled proudly at my brother, showing him off like a trophy. While I was hidden away in the kitchen, scrubbing plates and serving tea like a servant. Sometimes I wondered, did I do something wrong by just being born? Was my gender a sin I was paying for? But one person made this even worse, my brother. The golden child. The boy who believed he was a gift to this world because he had never been told otherwise. He didn't just accept the favoritism, he weaponized it. He bullied me for fun. He stole my phone, read my messages out loud, and laughed with his friends about my private thoughts. If I tried to defend myself, if I raised my voice even an octave, he would run to our parents and play the victim. And my parents? They always took his side. They told me I was too sensitive. They told me I was creating drama. They told me to be grateful I even had a home. Tell me, Has anyone ever blamed you for the pain they caused you? Has anyone set you on fire and then complained about the smell of the smoke? If yes, type "I understand" in the comments right now, so others watching this know they're not alone either. Years passed. I learned to survive in silence. I built a wall around my heart. But silence has a limit. Even the strongest dam breaks eventually. One evening when I was 19, the dam broke. I had secretly applied for a scholarship, a full scholarship, to study business at a top university in the capital. It was a long shot. I didn't think I was smart enough, not after years of being told I was useless. But I got it. I remember staring at the letter, my hands shaking. It was the first time in my life I felt like maybe I could have a future.
Maybe I wasn't just Alina the burden. I was Alina the scholar. I ran home with the letter in my hand, tears in my eyes.
For a split second, I forgot who my parents were. I let myself hope that they would be proud. I burst into the living room. Baba. Mama. Look, my father took the letter. He read it slowly. My mother looked over his shoulder. The silence stretched out, heavy and suffocating. Then, my father scoffed. A cold, cruel sound. He ripped the letter right in front of me. Once. Twice. Shredding my exit ticket. "We don't waste money on daughter's dreams," he shouted, throwing the confetti of my future onto the floor. "You think you're going to the city to study? Who will cook? Who will clean?
You stay home and work for this family until we find someone to marry you off to." My mother chimed in. "Alina, don't be selfish.
Zion needs money for his new motorcycle. We can't afford your bus fare, let alone a university life. Know your place." It felt like someone ripped me into pieces. It wasn't just the scholarship. It was the realization that they didn't just prefer him. They actively wanted me to fail. They wanted me small. They wanted me stuck. If this happened to you, what would you do? Would you fight? Or would you walk away? That night, I hugged my pillow and cried until sunrise. I cried for the little girl who just wanted a hug. I cried for the teenager who wanted to be seen. But somewhere in those tears, around 3 a.m., something inside me snapped. The version of me who begged for love died. The version of me who hoped they would change vanished. I stood up from the bed, a little shakily, and looked in the mirror. My eyes were swollen, but my jaw was set. I decided, I will save myself. Because nobody else will. For the next 6 months, I became an actress in my own home. I played the role of the obedient daughter perfectly. I cooked. I cleaned. I didn't argue. I let Zion mock me without flinching. But at night? At night, I was building my escape. I secretly worked online, late nights, early mornings. I used an old laptop a friend lent me. I took freelance writing projects, learned graphic design on YouTube, and saved every single rupee I could hide. I opened a digital bank account they didn't know about. I skipped lunches to save 50 rupees. I walked instead of taking the rickshaw to save 20 rupees. My parents had no idea. They didn't care enough to notice the dark circles under my eyes. They didn't notice I was exhausted because to them, I was just a machine. And that was my advantage. Their neglect was my cover. One day, I checked my account. It wasn't a fortune. It was enough for 2 months of rent in a cheap hostel and some food. It was barely enough to survive, but it was enough to leave. I packed quietly on a Tuesday morning when everyone was asleep. Just one backpack, my clothes, my old phone, my laptop, and the broken pieces of my heart. I looked at my room one last time. The walls that had heard my weeping. The floor where I had prayed for a miracle. I realized I was the miracle I had been praying for. I left a note on the dining table, right next to Zion's fruit bowl. Thank you for the life lesson. You taught me that I can only rely on myself. I'm choosing myself now. No dramatic goodbye. No begging. No looking back. I walked out the front door and the morning air hit my face. It was cold, but it tasted like freedom. Ask yourself honestly, if you had to leave everything you knew. If you had to walk out into the unknown with no safety net just to survive. Could you do it? My new life was ugly at first. Let's be real, it wasn't a movie montage. It was hard. I moved into a tiny room in a hostel. No kitchen. Shared bathroom. The paint was peeling and the neighbors were loud. Sometimes I had just bread and tea for dinner. There were nights I lay awake, terrified, counting my remaining money, wondering if I had made a mistake. I missed the comfort of a big house, even if that house was a prison. But then, the sun would rise. And I would make my own tea. I would open my laptop. And I would realize, no one is yelling at me. No one is demanding anything. I could breathe without fear. I worked like a machine. No weekends. No friends. No parties. Just dreams and determination. I took every job I could find. Copywriting, data entry, virtual assistants. I learned to say yes to opportunities and figure out the how later. Slowly, I grew. A bigger project came in. Then another. A marketing company noticed my portfolio and offered me a junior position. I accepted, not because I needed validation, but because I wanted power. My own power. I walked into that office wearing a suit I bought from a thrift store. But I held my head higher than anyone else. I worked harder than the guys who went to the fancy universities. I stayed late. I pitched ideas. Within 2 years, I was promoted. Then promoted again. I became a brand manager. My income skyrocketed. The same girl who wasn't allowed to study started handling million-rupee campaigns. The same girl who was told she was useless was now leading a team of 10 people. Every success felt like revenge. Every paycheck felt like healing. Every time I signed a document with my own name, I felt a layer of my trauma dissolve. I didn't stop there. I bought myself a beautiful apartment. A place with big windows and sunlight. I filled it with everything I was once told I didn't deserve. Soft velvet couches. Pretty fairy lights. A huge bookshelf full of the stories I never got to read as a child. I bought a dining table where everyone gets the good food. And each night when I locked my own door, the sound of the lock clicking was the sweetest music I had ever heard. I thank myself for escaping. If you're listening to this right now and you feel stuck, remember, nobody is coming to save you. There is no prince. There is no magic letter. You must take the first step. But you know what's funny? The world is small. And karma has a perfect memory. Karma doesn't shout, it waits. 5 years had passed since I left. I hadn't spoken to them once. One Tuesday afternoon, in the middle of a meeting, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Usually, I ignore them. But something made me pick up. It was Zion. Allo? His voice sounded different. Smaller. Rougher. Alina? Is that you? Quote, I didn't speak. I just listened. Alina, listen, don't hang up. Mom is sick. It's her heart. The surgery is expensive. Dad retired, and, well, my business didn't work out. We have debts. We need money. We heard you're doing well. People say you're a manager now. You need to come home. You need to help family. I stared at the phone. I looked around my beautiful office. My team waiting for my instructions. My life that I built brick by brick. I felt nothing. No hate. No sadness. No anger. Just emptiness. Like looking at a stranger. Right after that, my father called, after 5 years of silence. Suddenly he knew how to say, Beta, daughter. Suddenly he remembered I was his blood. He sounded desperate. He even dared to say, Alina, let bygones be bygones. Family supports each other. You owe us this. We raised you. I almost laughed. We raised you. No. You housed me. I raised myself. I thought about the fever at 16. I thought about the ripped scholarship letter. I thought about the bread and tea dinners I ate alone while they feasted. I didn't block them immediately. I didn't argue. I didn't scream about the past. I simply replied, I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong number. I don't deal with strangers. And then I hung up. They tried to call back. They sent texts calling me selfish, calling me arrogant, saying I had forgotten my roots. But I hadn't forgotten my roots. I knew exactly where I came from. That's why I wasn't going back. My revenge wasn't loud. I didn't post their chats on social media. I didn't go to their house to gloat. My revenge was simple, I lived well. Without them. I let them live with the consequences of their own choices. They bet everything on the son, and they lost. They threw away the daughter, and she won. That's when I realized.
The most beautiful revenge is not proving them wrong. It's watching them regret losing you while you build a life they will never be invited into.
It's eating a warm meal in peace. It's sleeping without anxiety. But wait. I want to ask you something honestly. This is important. If a family that broke you comes back begging when you finally succeed, should you forgive them because it's family? Or should you protect your peace and walk away forever? Comment below. I really want to know your perspective, forgive or forget. Because sometimes the hardest decision is choosing you over people you once loved. People you wanted to love you. Today, I am at peace. I laugh freely. I have friends who are my chosen family. Friends who bring me soup when I'm sick. Who celebrate my wins without jealousy. I sleep without fear. I work for myself. I celebrate myself. And I love myself. Not because someone else taught me how, but because I had to learn it the hard way. If you have ever been treated like you don't matter, if you've been mocked, ignored, used, compared, I want you to hear this, and I want you to believe it. You are not a burden. You are not a mistake. You are not a servant. And you deserve a life that feels like love, not a transaction. Don't wait for permission to live. They will never give it to you. Don't let anyone cage you. Stand up. Pack your dreams. And run toward the future you deserve. Even if you have to run alone. Even if you have to start with nothing. Because family is not who shares your blood. It's who cares about your heart. It's who stands by you when you have nothing, not just when you have everything. If you felt even one moment in this story, if it reminded you of anything you've lived through, make sure to click the like button so more people who need to hear this can find it. Share this with a friend who needs courage. And subscribe if you want more stories like this, real, raw, human. Your support helps me continue to share these voices that are often silenced. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying till the end. And if you're struggling right now, looking for a sign, this is it. Your comeback starts the day you finally choose yourself.